disadvantage to illicit drug problems. As long as large numbers of young people with poor housing, education and employment prospects have little to look forward to for the rest of their bleak lives, a brief and blissful chemical vacation will always seem pretty attractive. The offer of a sizable sum of money to deliver a mysterious package of unknown contents on a shiny new red motorbike to a stranger in a distant city will always seem compelling to someone who can't find regular satisfying work. Minimising disadvantage among Australians living in extreme poverty, however, has not been attractive for our policymakers in recent decades. Despite calls to implement reforms in taxation, welfare and education that would help address the problem of social and economic inequality in this country, the gaps continue to grow. Matt Noffs and Kieran Palmer have compiled stories here that remind us that humanity must be our first and foremost priority. They should know. Like me, they've spent their lives on the front line of drug treatment and harm reduction. The Noffs Foundation has made a unique contribution to Australia's response to illicit drugs over 3 generations. Ted and Margaret Noffs established the Wayside Chapel in King's Cross in the 1960s. They accepted that people who use drugs were just as worthy of respect and compassion as other members of the community. They also set up the country's first drug referral centre. Ted made it his mission that politicians wouldn't ignore the drug issue. Ted Noffs' son, Wes, and his wife Mandy created the country's first adolescent treatment service, with evidence-based harm reduction principles at its core. Ted's grandson, Matt, alongside the next generation of Noffs staff, including Director of Clinical Services Kieran Palmer, have created a network of effective drug treatment programs for young people across Australia. It's time to take a fresh look at legal and illegal drug use, as well as more ubiquitous and emerging challenges, technology for example. This book calls for a broader and more mature discussion about how the community should respond to drugs and other addictions. But beyond discussion, it also offers strategies, tactics and tools for the reader to use in their own lives. After all, half a century of criminalising people for their drug use hasn't got us very far. Think of this as you contemplate Shakespeare's wise words. All this the world well knows, yet none knows well, to shun the heaven that leads men to this hell. Dr. Alex Wodak, AM. President, Australian Drug Law Reform Foundation. Emeritus Consultant, St Vincent's Hospital, Sydney. Director, Australia 21. Introduction. (1982), King's Cross. A throng of people files into the Wayside Chapel. "Have you seen him?" asks one lady. "No," replies her husband. They've come all the way from Albury to hear a talk by Ted Noffs, Australia's most famous minister. They never thought they'd be in a church again, if you could call the Wayside Chapel that. In the 1980s, religion was falling by the wayside, but Noffs was preaching something different. In fact, his message was so different that the church had charged him with heresy 3 times. He'd implied that Jesus was a human being, not God. He declared that homosexual people should have the right to marry. But perhaps his worst slight against the church was to say that all religions were equal. His most profound statement was probably his creed of the family of humanity. "I am a Protestant, but I am also a Catholic. I am a Muslim, but I am also a Jew. I am a Hindu, but I am also a Buddhist. I am an agnostic, but I am also an atheist, because first and foremost, I'm a human being, and no one in this world is a stranger to me." He was taking the words of the ancient Roman playwright, Terence, "Nothing that is human is alien to me," and moulding them into something that resonated with thousands of families across modern Australia. As Alain de Botton and John Armstrong argue in their book, Art as Therapy, Terence's phrase captures the idea of being able to find personal resonance even in areas far from one's own direct experience and culture. It is when we find points of connection to the foreign that we're able to grow. It's through our connections, not just with our immediate family, but also with the entire family of humanity, with what normally feels alien, that we become healthier as a society, as a community, and as individuals in that community. The difference between us and others can be a source of strength and solace. It is the judgments and preconceptions that we've been taught to harbour which are the source of our fear. Therefore, whether it be skin colour, sexual preference,